Nye, the science guy, and it's a Big Think video. Here we are on the Big Think page. This is a site that touts itself as being cutting edge science and higher thinking. And as I look through here, there isn't anyone who's an actual Christian. And clicking through some of their videos, I've come to find that pretty much they have nothing positive to say about Christianity. And then as I look through some of the people that they have here, I realize that these are all just atheists that want to attack Christianity. And they're using a platform of science to try and give it some sort of validity. And this guy right here kind of points that out. Anyone who knows Penn Jillette, it's like if you want to talk about big think and where people should be getting their information from, I would not pick a guy who does, what do they call that, illusion magic stuff, essentially conning people. So he's a con artist for a living and a pornographer. Yeah, I'm going to take what Jen Pillette says about anything. An atheist pornographer. There's a guy who is really, he's got it all together. That's it right there. Michio Kaku, he's a typical science guy. He doesn't have anything bad to say about God. He's on here. He's all right. You know, he's I'm not sure if he's a full-on atheist. But anyway, you got good old Bill Clinton. He can teach you a lot about how to take advantage of 20-year-olds and get impeached and still keep your job. We got all kinds of great people up on here. So now that I know what I'm dealing with, and I looked up Mr. Bill Nye. Here, we can do that too. We can, let's see, we'll go to Google. Bill Nye made some old comments that essentially says people that believe in God shouldn't have kids and pass on their information. So go here to Bill Nye. So we'll go to Mr. Wiki, because you know that's reasonably crappy information, but whatever. These are all, Wikipedias and these sites are all written by the press agents for Bill Nye, so if it's going to be correct, it's going to be here. This article is about the American Science Educator. Okay, so I've actually had comments when I said this guy was an idiot. Someone said he was a master physicist or something, Bill Nye. Down here, it doesn't say anything about being a master physicist. It says he got a 4-year degree in physics. And his professor was Carl Sagan. And I will add that he brings this up every interview. You could ask him what he had for lunch, and he would say, back in school, Carl Sagan told me that eggs were good, so I had eggs for lunch. That would be his response. And now I normally don't attack people just for who they are. But this guy, because he wears a little funny bow tie and reads a script about science, people think that he's a scientist. Okay, he's an actor. We'll look here, and they even put the guy's freaking grade school under his education because they didn't have anything. You know, he studied mechanical engineering. He got a 4-year degree. Good for him. Him and about 1 million other people got that degree. Great. Good for him. That's fine. But he's not a master physicist. He's got a standard 4-year degree. And then as soon as he got his degree, he got a job at Boeing, which he quit. So he worked briefly at Boeing Airplane Company and quit. And he got into doing entertainment because he didn't like science. He didn't like it at all. He didn't like working at Boeing. So he got into entertainment down here. And he got into it how? Because he was such a great entertainer? No, he got into it because he looked like Bill Martin. He even says it in here. He says it in his interviews as to how he got his start. He'll say, well, I was doing stand-up comedy, and the comedians would always come up to me and say how much I look just like the guy. Or Steve Martin, not Bill Martin. Steve Martin, the Saturday Night Live guy. Which, you know, I could see how he could, maybe, 100 years ago or whatever. But, yeah, that's what it is. The guy left science after studying science, didn't want to do it, and became an entertainer. And that's what he's been ever since. And granted, the guy has some inventions, but they're inventions that anybody does, I mean, he has the money to patent them, good for him. But, new uses for duct tape is not becoming a scientist. It's putzing in your garage and, coming up with ideas. I mean, guys do this all the time. Real men, ladies, this is why your man wants to have a huge-ass garage and why you can't park your car in there. Because we're doing stuff. And good for Bill Nye that he does stuff. I have no problems with him doing stuff, but don't put this holier than thou, the next Nikola Tesla stuff on Bill Nye. He's an entertainer who also, because he's an entertainer, apparently you have to be a humanist. So somewhere along the line, he became a humanist. So let's look up what humanism is. Philosophical and ethical stance emphasizes the value and agency of human beings, whatever agency is. You know what this is? This is the democratic. This is that if we all talk to each other, we can come to a consensus of how we're going to live, individually and collectively. This is where rationalism. See, this is where we get our morals from. As they always say that, Christians get their morals from a book, and atheists, they don't need that. They know the difference between right and wrong. Well, here's the problem, is that without a higher power outside yourself, what are you going to do when nobody is looking? And you don't have anybody to be an agent with. Huh? Are you going to do the right thing in that instance? If you're fearing the afterlife and God, and you love God and you want to follow what God says, you're probably more apt to do the right thing. I don't even care if it's right or not, okay? I don't care if the theology of Christianity or whatever, pick your religion, is right. If you perceive that there is a God that has put rules down, you can call it the imaginary person in the air, whatever you want to. Are you more apt to follow those rules when there's nobody around and you don't have anybody here to rationalize it to? Do people steal things when everybody is watching them? No. So this is essentially, humanism is I am God. That's humanism. I am God. Unless there's a bunch of us little gods around, and then we talk to each other and decide how a big group of God is going to act. Us. Yeah, that's what a humanist is. So, now that we've cleared that up, I'm going to go to this video and we'll make some comments on it. This is a video I think he did 2 years ago, and it kind of ticked me off. So let's take a look.
Denial of evolution is unique to the United States. I mean, we are the world's most advanced technological, so I mean, you could say Japan, but generally the United States is where most of the innovation still happens. People still move to the United States.
Okay. Now, right there, he says, we need evolution because the United States is where everything comes from and we're the innovators, and it's only our science that does that. And if we move away from evolution, we're somehow moving away from science. Now, evolution's like a 150-year-old theory. The country is a couple hundred years old. And when we look, all right. So here we see in the Christian world here, he's making the argument that because of evolution, somehow we have all of our technology. Well, our Christian population here, this is a fairly recent map, I think 2013. Our Christian population is above 50%. It's probably, closer to 70%, and it's actually been higher. Christianity's been declining. So that would mean that, 20, 30, 40 years ago, whenever you want to say that the big tech bubble happened and we're really starting to get into it, that would mean that everyone was Christian. And now if we're starting to slow down and our progress isn't as good, then it's because people are falling away from the Christian faith. It's just only logical, right? I mean, he's saying that. I know he's Bill Nye, the bachelor's degree guy. So he's obviously going to be smarter than most people and has really studied it. Or maybe he's an actor who was given a script and has an agenda. Let's keep watching.
And that's largely because of the intellectual capital we have, the general understanding of science. When you have a portion of the population that doesn't believe in that, it holds everybody back, really.
Did you hear that? You've got a portion of the population that doesn't believe in evolution, then it holds everybody back. Now, I know what you're saying. You're saying that, hey, wait a minute, well, just because you believe in Christianity doesn't mean you can't believe in evolution. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Do you believe God did it, or do you believe it happened by chance? A lot of people, you probably never thought about this before. But if you're a Christian, you call yourself a Christian, and you bother going to church, you better give God the glory and the credit. Not some mythical fantasy garbage that happened billions of years ago. That's the product of some guy's imagination from 200 years ago. And it isn't a new theory that Darwin thought up with, now that I think about it. Humanism goes all the way back to Plato. Naturalism, I mean, geez, that's what the Gnostics believe. They were like the first religion next to what the Jews were doing. Holy buckets. And you guys think it's something new and scientific. You have better lies to tell people. That's what you have. You don't have to believe me. You can have your own opinions on it, but that's what it is. This link to say that evolutionists are somehow smarter. Well, I got a little map here that says you're full of crap. You're absolutely lying. How else do you say that? You're lying. If America is the center of all prosperity in the world, and it has been so since World War II, and it is the number one Protestant nation, and this is a key thing. There is no country more Christian than the United States, and it is the most prosperous. If evolution is so great, well, how come these guys over here, aren't doing so good? They're saying here they're giving credit to the in Europe for the king's version of Christianity, which essentially is Catholicism. They're giving credit to that, but these people, most of them are atheist up here, and these people, what's going on there? Let's continue.
Evolution is the fundamental idea in all of life science, in all of biology. It's very much analogous to trying to do geology without believing in tectonic plates. You're just not going to get the right answer. Your whole world is just going to be a mystery instead of an exciting place.
Okay, here he's making the connection that evolution is biology. It is not biology. You can try and say that it is, and what they're doing now is they say that anytime a critter adapts, it gets different colored feathers or something. That is an example of evolution. And that is absolute crap. It's adaptation. That's what it is. There isn't anything new being created there. And we can haggle on that all the time, but evolution is the theory that everything comes from one cell billions of years ago. That is evolution. I don't care what. And really, evolution begins at the Big Bang. That doesn't have anything to do with biology. How did the stars form? How does biology fit that? It doesn't. It's a faith. It's creation, except it's by nature as opposed to a god. That's what it is. Now, does it have its little claws in biology? Sure. It has its claws in biology. And they're going to change the definition of evolution to just say change over time. And I'll point this out over and over and over again. You can't just change definitions. We'll look up evolution or definition of evolve, because that's really what we're talking about. Evolve. If I could spell it. Definition. Here we are. Look, I already looked it up because I copy and paste it so much. All right, evolve, to change or develop slowly, often in a better, more complex, or more advanced state. to develop by a process of evolution. People want to tell me this just means change over time. No, the flipping definition of the word is from simple to complex. This is key, because if it was just change over time, they wouldn't have called it evolution. They would have called it change over time, or they would have called it adaptation. But in order to have everything going from one cell to everything you see today, you have to go from a simple to a more advanced state to develop by process of evolution. You have to. And I know you can go to different dictionaries and they'll say different things. But I'm going to go to Merriam-Webster because that's what the schools use. This is the one, Encyclopedia Britannica. You're going to say that they're wrong. Merriam-Webster, Webster's Dictionary. Now, you want to go to your science dictionary, people that know science and don't know vocabulary and don't know the English language and get your definitions, good for you. You go do that. I'm going to go to the flipping Webster's Dictionary. You can't change the definitions of words to suit your own thing. I'm going to call the definition of an atheist an idiot. That's my new definition. So anytime I see atheist, I can just say the definition of an atheist is an idiot. See? And then I can write my own little thing and say that is now the Max Bauer definition of atheist. I think I'll stick with Merriam-Webster and give the atheist the benefit of the doubt. Continue on here.
As my old professor Carl Sagan said, when you're in love, you want to tell the world. So once in a while,
Carl Sagan told me back when I was in school to Carl Sagan. Did I mention Carl Sagan? I remember when Carl Sagan told me I was a good student to Carl Sagan.
get people that claim they don't believe in evolution. And my response generally is, why not? Really, why not?
Please believe in evolution. Please.
Your world just becomes fantastically complicated.
Really? Fantastically complicated. As opposed to just making shit up? Yeah, I suppose you're right.
When you don't believe in evolution. I mean, here are these ancient dinosaur bones or fossils. Here is radio.
Now he's making an assumption that they're ancient dinosaur bones and fossils. Whatever. That's fine. I got no problems with fossils and dinosaur bones.
Radioactivity. Here are distant stars that are just like our star, but they're...
See, yeah, he knew what the deal was there. The old distant stars routine, and then he wanted to slip in the fact, because this is a script. He wanted to make sure he was on his script. He had to say, there's distant stars out there that are, they're just like our sun, by the way. They're just like our sun. That's exactly what's out there. Now, they don't flipping know that, okay? Anyone who's got a telescope looks at a star. What do you see in the telescope? You see a little spot of light, right? Guess what they see in the Hubble? A little spot of light. They don't know what a star is. They are assuming that a star is like our sun because it makes sense. And I'll agree with that. It makes sense. But they don't know. You're not going to hear Bill Nye say that. He makes a point to make it that the stars are exactly like our sun. I don't see why they couldn't be. But this points out the fact that he is reading from a script. There are certain things he has to say. And because he's reading from a script, I get very upset about what he's talking about next.
They're at a different point in their life cycle. The idea of deep time, of this billions of years, explains so much of the world around us.
Really? Billions of years explains what, Bill Nye? What does billions of years explain? It raises a million more questions than it could ever possibly answer. Other than from the imagination. I guess billions of years gives you a lot of time to make up whatever crap you want.
Try to ignore that, your worldview just becomes crazy. It's just untenable, self-inconsistent.
So what he's saying is, I didn't understand religion, so here I am as a humanist.
I say to the grown-ups, if you want to deny evolution and live in your world that's completely inconsistent with everything we observe in the universe, that's fine. But don't make your kids do it, because we need them. We need scientifically literate voters and taxpayers for the future. We need people that can, we need engineers that can build stuff.
Okay, now this is the reason for this entire video that I'm making. Did anyone catch what he just said? He said, if you believe in God, you're an idiot who shouldn't reproduce, because if you have children, obviously you're passing on your knowledge. And he's telling you don't pass on your knowledge because you're an idiot and you shouldn't be reproducing. You can't even be an engineer or a scientist. There's really no need for people who think like you. That's what he just said. This guy has been teaching your children science. What has he been telling your kids when you're not around watching the television with them? Do we got to watch the last 15 years this guy's been on air now and make sure that, he's not telling your kids that their parents are stupid? Because I'm sure he is. If he's willing to read from this script on big old atheist think, if he's willing to do that, he's obviously going through the whole thing, through his programs and through everything else, trying to do his little ministering as he goes. Oh, you don't need to believe in that God. That's silly. Your parents are stupid. You should tell your parents they're stupid. Where does this guy think that he gets the authority to do that? Now, I don't want to bring up Pee Wee Herman, but here's another guy who is a child's entertainment guy, who is an adult, who got blackballed for being in an adult movie theater when he was, you couldn't recognize Pee Wee Herman when he's not in his little getup. And because that story, nobody knows the truth about what happened in that story, but because he got arrested being in a porno place, he's banned for life from doing anything with kids, just instantaneously. This Bill Nye guy is telling you, the adults, that you're stupid and you shouldn't be allowed to have children. And the kids that you do have need to be brought up as evolutionists. And they'll be told by Bill Nye as often as he gets that you're stupid. And he's going to tell your kids that the kids need to listen to him because he's smart. And he's the evolution bow tie guy who knows everything. But the parents are stupid.
Solve problems. It's just really hard thing. It's really a hard thing. In another couple centuries, that worldview, I'm sure, it just won't exist.
See, look at that little smug, little giddy smile as he thinks of the idea of there not being any Christians around. Just the giddy little, yeah. Man, that's going to be great. Just us humanists. We don't need any more reason. We can become the gods then. Now I'm going to go back and we're going to listen to what he was saying about people who believe in God. And I want you to switch the words around and say if he was saying people who believe in evolution. We'll switch the words around and then see what you get out of it if you switch it around.
Bones or fossils. There are distant stars that are just our star, but they're different point in their life cycle. A deep time of this billions of years explains so much of the world around us. If you try to ignore that, your worldview just becomes crazy. It's just untenable, self-inconsistent. And I say to the grown-ups, if you want to deny evolution and live in your world that's completely inconsistent with everything we observe in the universe, that's fine.
So, if you grown-ups want to believe in evolution that's been shown to be inconsistent with everything we know in the world,
but don't make your kids do it.
Don't make your kids learn evolution.
We need scientifically literate.
We need your kids. We need your kids to push the faith, to push Jesus.
Voters and taxpayers for the future.
We need them to
people
minister.
that can. We need engineers that can build stuff.
And new pastors.
Solve problems.
And missionaries.
It's just really a hard thing. It's really a hard thing. In another couple centuries, that worldview, I'm sure, will be, it just won't exist. I mean, it's...
Yeah, that's the little smile I was looking for. Yeah.
There's no evidence for
Look
it.
how happy he gets. So there you have it. I don't know. That is way out of bounds for anyone I see as a children's entertainer. You ain't gonna see Bert and Ernie. Oh, kids, don't listen to your parents. They're stupid. You're not gonna see Bert and Ernie doing that. You're not gonna see Mr. Rogers doing that, or the new Mr. Rogers. I know that guy's dead now, but that's the point. You're a children's entertainer. You don't have a position when it comes to what parents should be telling their children. They're not your kids. Go away. That's my opinion. So there you have it. That one irritated me, so I just had to get this video out of my system. Bill Nye has absolutely zero respect for me. Or nothing. The guy is nothing. He's a shill. He's paid actor to go up and go spread his little spiel. And this video just highlights it. And from Big Think. What a laughable network that is. Anyways, this has been Max. We're out of here.